Hey, it's Jason with Jams.net. I'm here with the 1991 Chevrolet G20 Conversion van by Transair. And we're going to do some trips in a couple weeks where I'm planning to bring a portable air conditioner unit and a generator. And I don't want to have a generator inside the van. Gas fumes can be unpleasant after a couple hours. So I'm going to put a trailer hitch on this G20 Conversion van. I debated having a local shop do it because it would be maybe less of a pain in my butt, but I'm told this hitch I bought is just a bolt up. So supposedly it would just bolt right up without having to do any major modifications. Now, I don't know how true that is, but we're going to give it a go. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to attempt to install a trailer hitch on this 1991 G20 Conversion van. So first we'll unpackage the hitch, and then we'll look at the setup. You can see this van is lifted a little bit right now, and I'll show you how I've lifted it and the safety precautions I'm taking. It is a hot and humid, 100% humidity because it's been rainy and everything, so I'm probably going to look like I jumped in a pool in a couple minutes, if not already. Let's go look at the hitch. Now, I bought this off of Amazon, and it looks like it went through World War II to get to me. So I'm absolutely hoping that I'm not missing any pieces. You can see that it, the box is just pretty much deteriorated. But this is a very heavy item, and they don't really package it for the weight other than putting in. It's an extra large, and I think that means team lift. So it looks like all the pieces are here. Stupid rooster. It looks like all the pieces are here. Luckily, this bag did not come out the other side, so that is there. You have the actual receiver, and that looks like the plates that must mount to the underside of the car. This is a Reese 35365 Class III Custom-Fit Hitch. It has the 2-inch square receiver, which is the typical common size. It also has a little hitch plug that came with it. This receiver, the max trailer weight is 5,000 pounds with a max tongue weight of 1,000 pounds. That seems a little high to me for the tongue weight. Maybe I'm reading that label wrong there. Yeah, it looks like what it is. I thought this was a smaller scale hitch that I got here. I paid $184.99 from Amazon, and it showed up in 2 days. They put some type of wood in here. You know what? I bet you this was on the pallet. And then when they ripped it off, this is pallet wood. When they ripped off the pallet, somehow it got inside the box. You have your bolts. It's about 10 bolts. You have your handy dandy consumer information. And then because it's raining, my relatively wet instructions. So let me look at this, and then we'll look up under the car and begin to talk about how we're going to install it and then install it. So when we think about the install here, you're going to have this one and this one, and it says you need to remove the 2 lower support brackets, the bumper support brackets, and then place the left bracket and the right bracket in place. And it looks like it gives you all the 1, 2, 3. It looks like 3 bolts per each one. And then place the left side against the frame. Install the 4 bolts removed in step 1. Leave the bolts loose. Install the center section. And then screw the pull wire. So it looks like you're going to have to use this pull wire. Screw the pull wire to the carriage bolt, feed it through the bolt plate in the large hole on the outboard side of the frame. So it looks like this is going to be needed to get the bolt through. I've never installed one of these. It doesn't look difficult, but I think the challenge is going to be the weight of it and holding everything up. I'll probably have to use a jack. Let's hop over and talk about the safety precautions I'm taking. Now, I'm well prepared for everybody to say, I can't believe you're using plastic Rhino ramps. These things are geared for 13,000 total pounds. Never had an issue. Second observation, it's gravel. Why aren't you doing it on the driveway? Because it's going to start raining. I want to do it back here. I put this driveway in, it's pretty darn heavily compacted, and I've been putting Land Rovers back here for years, so not concerned about that. So, as you can see, I've reversed up onto these ramps. They're not going into the gravel at all. They're not going to go into the gravel at all. Be very, very, very careful if you do that. I am not here to tell you how to do it. I'm telling you how I'm doing it, and always exercise safety. Even if I didn't have it on the ramps, I could slide underneath of this van and it would not hit me. So I just lifted it up to give myself a lot more working room. On top of that, you'll notice that there's some blue jack stands under there. Those blue jack stands are going to be there in the event the Rhino ramps were to have a fault and break. Highly unlikely. These ramps are kept inside a garage, climate controlled, not exposed to sun, and they have no cracks. But it's always good for safety. Second, now that I have plenty of space underneath, I have a piece of wood laying down here, and I have a creeper that I can kind of use for my knees or whatnot to avoid the gravel. The second thing I have is my handy-dandy step stool, so I can put parts and whatnot on it. This is the primary way it's going to be set up, and I think this is, going to allow me to take my time doing it without the threat of rain coming in, because this van with the luggage rack is too big to fit inside of the garage. That's the safety setup. Rhino ramps, they're geared for 13,000 pounds, backed up on it. Jack stands, additional safety if something was to fall. Wood, creeper, and that. Okay, so let's get under here, and I'm going to show you how all this mounts up. This is the bracket that is going to go on the right side. It's going to install just like... No, sorry. This is the left-hand one. My bad. The one for the right is underneath already. So let me just pop down here and I'll show you. So this here is the right-hand bracket. It is going to effectively hook in to one of these bolts on the underside. Actually, this bolt here. So this whole gizmo that you can kind of see right here, that is coming out. This guy is going to be positioned, and I'm doing this with one hand, so bear with me. But this guy's going to be positioned underneath like that. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. But effectively, this bumper is hooked to the actual, main track chassis of the van, right? So you hit it, it's giving you a lot of security. You're going to have to undo one of these. Now, I'm concerned with any time I'm undoing a bolt on a van or a truck or any vehicle that is this old, it could pose some problems. So let me just position myself so I can give you a good view of what we're looking at. Okay, so I think I have this camera positioned where you can see. So this is the underside of the van, obviously. This bracket is what's coming out. And you have one bolt, two bolts, and then you have this bolt in here. It looks like only one in here, this bottom bolt, okay? So you're not going to see that top part, like I said. I think I was wrong there. But this is the 1, 2, 3 bolts that are coming out. So this bracket right here is actually going to be what's coming out. So it's going to be replaced with this guy, which we've talked about. It's going to actually be like this. Okay. Other side. Like this. And when you put this up inside, it's going to hook to those two existing bolts. It's going to hook to this one bolt. The one bolt here will go through here. These two will go through here. And then if you can see all the way back there, that's where you're going to add a new bolt, a third bolt. So that's how the plate is going to actually line up. So 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts. You got to remove the current 2, 1, 2, plus this one, 3, and I'm pretty sure this bracket, I'm not pretty sure, I know this bracket you're not going to need anymore. I'll just keep it in the van or in the garage. And that's going to be for this side plate. This one here, and I'm not even looking at the camera now, so I'm just hoping you can see. This bolt, this is where you're going to have to fish something in, and I assume it's going to be fished in through here. Just a straight shot, like you'll probably fish it up through or something. I'll worry about that when I get to that point. I can even see some fishing wire in here from up here too. That's funny. All right, so let's go ahead and hook up or begin to remove these guys, figure out what dimensions they are. So far, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be that difficult to hook up. You're gonna have the 1, 2, 3 main that have to come out. The big question is gonna be how corroded and possibly rusty are they to actually get them out. So I'm gonna begin that process now. I'll re-angle the camera so you can see. The one thing I do like about this is it's not nearly as corroded back here as I was potentially expecting. So maybe even with a little PB blaster, I might have to get it, I might have to use to loosen things up. Okay, so it seems like the socket for the two back ones is a 13/16 size. It doesn't need to be a deep socket. And I have a much bigger one I can grab if I need more leverage. I'm just going to try it with a smaller wrench now and handle. And that 13/16 is for these guys right here. And I put the extender on it so I can actually rotate it. So then it gives me enough clearance under the existing bracket. So let's see if we can't break these. I'm going to try to do all this without using an impact drill or my screw gun or anything like that. And you definitely don't want to over-tighten them when you put them back. Because remember, this is more of pulling. It's pulling on the main chassis of the car. This is exactly what I thought. These are going to be just tight as can be. Have to use your big boy muscles. Okay, so you definitely got to use your big boy muscles to break that bad boy because it was pretty tight. But once you get it going, you're pretty much good. I could probably do it with my finger now. Now, it said to keep all the hardware coming out, so I'm gonna keep the hardware coming out. Having this jacked up is definitely helpful. Once you get that one good twist, you're good to go after that. Now, the local shop was going to charge me, well, when I say local shop, the cheapest commercial location I saw to do this, hitch included, was $380 from a U-Haul. So I'm saving about $200 doing it myself. And then we have the next one. Now I'll probably give these a nice little WD-40 bass. And then the next one's in here. So you can already see that is loose. And I doubt this is 13/16. It's definitely not. Okay, I'm using a 15mm socket on the one on the bumper end here. So it always happens on these older cars. You notice I'm on the other bumper now because I'm making sure I can get this out. I'm having a big issue. So I'm using a 3/8 wrench right here with my socket. It's just these are so grimy, these bolts. I've soaked them in PB Blaster as well, trying to get it out. And I think I'm going to end up going to Napa and seeing if I can get replacements because these are so rusty. I don't think I want to put them back in. I'm happy this one's coming out, but the one on the other side is not coming out. It almost looks like somebody completely rounded the bolt underneath. You can see my array of tools has grown, but this is the guy that was holding that bracket through the bumper. And you can see it's just a little square that goes in here. And then once I got it so loosened up, I put that 3/8 wrench and it was able to cut or catch on those corners of that little square side, sorry. And then this is the bolt. The bolt on the other side is just dilapidated. It's been rounded. So now I got to figure out on this side, I'm going to keep working it, but I can't even get a wrench on it or anything because it's so rounded. So turning into a huge pain in my butt. Okay, I finally got the passenger side, right-hand side bracket off. My friends, is what caused the absolute bane of my existence. If you can see, I don't know what happened here, but it is damn near rounded. But this is how the other one looks. So you can see the difference of these two. Let me zoom out a little bit. Right. So this one, you can see just how rounded it was. I'm not going to put this one back on. I'm going to get some replacement hardware. The one on the other side was pretty much okay. Maybe there was a hitch on here at some point. It took the hitch off for whatever reason. And when they replaced everything back how it was, that's what I ended up getting. So the good news is that side's off. I'm going to do the other side, and then I'm going to put the side brackets on. Okay, so I have the two side brackets removed. You can see I'm like soaked. It is a scorcher out here. But the next steps on this package are remove the two lower bumper support brackets. We've done that. Save the bolts and washers. We have done that. That's that. That's these four. I'm just soaking them in some WD-40. Place the left and right side brackets against the frame bottom and install the four bolts removed. So I'm going to install these loosely with the right and left brackets. These guys. So I will put the left one on, the right one on, with the bolts that I removed, and I'll install them loosely. Install the center section between the two side brackets with 6 ribbed necked bolts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they give you those lock washers and nuts. So then you're going to pretty much hook up this center section into the bracket that you just installed. Nothing's totally tight yet. And then we have to do the bumper bolts. We're going to use these bolts. But the good news is it does not want us to use this hardware that came off. It's saying use 2 3/8 washers and 2 3/8 lock nuts from the parts package. Leave the lock nuts loose at this time. It's saying you must use the lock nuts, otherwise the receiver could loosen. So this one that's all wackadoodle, I'm not going to use those. I don't need to make a trip anywhere. I'll use these through the bumper, that through the bumper, and some of the hardware in here according to the instructions. And I'm not too sure how well this video is going to show, but I have the plate, and you're going to want to use the bolts that came out, which are these guys. And the first one you're going to want to mount with that side facing out, and it's going to pretty much go like that. Now I need to position myself a little bit better here. I put my pillow down. I'm sure I'm going to be blocking a fair amount of the camera as I do this as well, but you can get the sense of how I'm doing it. Make sure my wrench is ready to go. And it's gonna basically go. Now if you have two people, this will probably be easier. So it's lining up to the front hole's perfect, and the back hole perfect as well. And there's like a little indentation on the now it said also do not tighten these, just put them in. So I'm going to try to get it going with my hand. Take my socket wrench and just get it a little bit tighter. I'm not tightening this, I'm just screwing it in. It's easier because I've lubricated that darn thing with WD-40. It was pretty slick. Alright, so that's going to hang by itself, and then I'll take the second one and put right in there as well. I'm going to just do a few turns here. On the instructions, it does tell you how much to torque them. I do have a torque wrench, but I'm not sure I'm going to be too stressed about it. But I might pull out the torque wrench and give it a go. Because I think the idea is that you can slide this ever so much. So this is on. Hopefully you could see this just a little bit. I'm gonna go do the other side. I'm not gonna film the other side. It's the same process, and then we're gonna put the center bar in. That's gonna span this way. So far so good. Okay, so every project on old cars never go completely as planned. There's rusty bolts or something. I have a tractor out right now. I had the little Harbor Freight Badland winch. I got the Silverado to power it. What on earth was I doing? So this bumper, evidently, was pushed in and bent just enough that it would prohibit this from going where it needed to go and lining up with the three holes underneath. So I took a piece of this wood. This is, funny enough, Brazilian hardwood. It's Coney Island boardwalk. I put it up underneath against the frame and bumper. I hooked the winch to it. I rigged it up to my tractor, and I basically winched the bumper out. When it was where it needed to be, I released the winch, and then I was able to mount that in seconds. So, you know, old car problems, I suppose. I didn't even know the bumper had a little hit to it. And it makes sense, because if you remember, this bracket was an absolute nightmare for me to get off. And it was like somebody shredded the bolt. Well, I bet you they hit something and they had to replace something at some point in the past 30 some odd years. And that caused the issue. So I'm really happy it's hooked up now. And I'm going to clean up all of this additional equipment I had to bring out. And the sun is now baking in here. I might call it quits for the night. I've been about 2 hours on this, on and off. I know, slow, right? Lots of breaks and lots of interruptions, but in any event, pick it back up at like 6:30 in the morning, tomorrow morning, when it's not so hot. I just have to mount the centerpiece and then fish those bolts in. Okay, I'm going to tackle what I think might be the next frustrating part of this install. And again, it's probably only frustrating because I've never did one of these. This bolt, it's a 1/2-inch carriage bolt, goes on this plate, like so, connects to the pull wire. You feed the pull wire through the frame with this screwed on, and it's supposed to go into the frame, into the hole where the pull wire ultimately is. Now, this worries me because if it's not successful, then you have this big old bolt up in the frame rattling. And you can see what I've done here is I have the pull wire. Let me try to get a little more light in here. I have fed the pull wire through this hole here, through the frame, right to here. So then I'm going to screw on the carriage bolt with the plate, and it's supposed to go up and through that hole, okay, and then feed right into there. Okay, so I have the carriage bolt screwed to the pull line along with the plate, and then presumably I'll pull this and it should go into place, and then I believe once it's there, if I get it there, you give it a good yank, and then it will pop this pull wire off and you can reuse it. I am pleasantly shocked. I did lots of cable pulls because I used to do cable management years ago, but you can see I got it through. So we have this carriage bolt through the chassis of the car with that bracket, so I can actually screw the nut on, and then we can just, I'm gonna back this off. You can see it held on really good. It went up a little bit more. It got a little bent down there, but overall it held up pretty good. So I'm gonna back this off and make sure I can bend this back how it was so I can put it on the other one and do the other side. Okay, success. I have the other carriage bolt through. I have that plate up underneath. Now the center section is gonna have 6 rib neck bolts. These guys, 6 of them. 6 lock washers and 6 nuts. So these will, when you put them through, this will go through the center hitch, the center piece, and then through the bracket. And then on the other side of the bracket, you have the wash nut, or the lock nut, the lock washer, I guess I should say, and then the nut. So just to give you a look-see, you have 1, 2, 3. So when that center piece goes up here, when the Reese, the main receiver goes up, 1 goes like that, and then you're going to do a lock washer, and then you're going to do your nut. That's how they're calling for it to be done. So the way I'm doing this is I'm using a small floor jack to just hold it up, and then I'll put the carriage bolts through. There's 6 of them. So I should say the ribbed neck bolts through again, and my goal is just to get 2 of them in just to hold it. Okay, so it is all placed and all the bolts are going to be ready to be tightened. I tried to do it with the jack and it was kind of a pain. Since my wife was still here, I just sat underneath, lifted it, and had her push the bolts through. So the next step is really just to tighten everything. And the bumper bolts that you removed, you'll be putting those back. And they gave, as I mentioned, new hardware with it. But you'll use a new bolt, a nut with it. You're going to put the old bumper bolt through, and then the new nut they gave, and that is a 9/16. And you tighten this up. All right, the project is finally done. Kind of a pain in my butt, but I'm gonna chalk this up to, in all my years of owning a truck, I've never installed a hitch. They always had them already installed, like the Silverado, the Land Rover, so on and so forth. And I think it only was a pain simply because of the dumb things that happened. The rounded nut, which was a pain in my butt, and then me not really knowing that bumper was bent. You couldn't even tell it was bent. It was just enough to make the holes not line up. But this is the finished product. Yeah, pretty nice. Everything is torqued exactly how they called for. Everything is doing exactly what it should be doing. So again, the funny thing is, I'm not gonna be towing anything with this van. I'm just gonna be putting a rack on it to haul a generator. But if I need to tow, I know I got the ability to tow with it. So this is Jason with jams.net. This was installing the Reese hitch on a 1991 Chevrolet G20 Conversion van. Appreciate you watching. And if you like me and never installed one, maybe you'll learn a few tips and have some ramps and have the jacks there, the jack stands, just for extra safety. Have a great day. Stay tuned to subscribe to our YouTube channel for all kinds of fun projects that we take on.